You're gay. Welcome back, Ravers. It is season 2, episode 17 of Gay Rave, and I am the Gabrielle. I'm so happy we're back because we simply have so much to talk about. And can we say we are almost at the conclusion of season 2? I did 18 episodes in season 1. I will intend to do 18 episodes of season 2 and then take a quick break to work on maybe some merch, maybe some YouTube videos, maybe some fun growth projects for the pods slash the brand. And then we can come back for season 3 with all of the things that will be happening as we prepare for summer. So I know that the Pope has passed. Rip. Okay, rip to that man. But can I say that the conclave is going to be very interesting, especially because just like America does, everyone's putting, this decision into the betting markets to say who's going to be the next pope. So secure that bag. You know what I'm saying? The pope is supposed to be a reflection of what the world needs now. So I'm hoping that they choose somebody who is going to be like an extension of what Pope Francis was and not the Trump of the Vatican. And also, Canada's going through an election right now. And I think that Trump has actually helped because everyone really hated Justin Trudeau. So I think that they would have elected a like Trumpian Canadian candidate. But now that Trump is so bad and they're creating this like trade war and they have all these like bad alignments globally, I think that Canada might finally elect another person who is of like the Liberal Party, which would be amazing. Good for the world. We love to see it. Okay. So, something about the conclave that I think we should all be aware of it is they can't start the conclave, the voting, and the selection until 15 days after the death has taken place. But it has to take place, has to begin after 15 days have passed, but before 20 days have passed. So it has to begin within that sort of 5-day window. And all of those proceedings start with a mass. And essentially, at this mass, all the cardinals and all of the people go to, what is it, St. Peter's Basilica, and they pray and they say, we need to be told, essentially, like they need the Holy Spirit to tell them who to vote for. So then they go into the privacy of the conclave, which is all of the cardinals go in and they vote 4 times a day. And they have to have 2/3 majority to select who the new pope is going to be. And every time they vote, if they do not come to a 2/3 majority, they send black smoke up in the Vatican so everyone can see no decision was made. And they essentially mix it. They take all their ballots and they burn them and they mix it with some chemical and then it comes out black. And then when they finally do have 2/3 majority, then they mix it with a different chemical and then it comes out white. So that is the exciting things that we have to look forward to just about another week until the conclave starts. But still, very exciting things to come, people, if you are in any way interested in that. But bitch, I'm about to be on top of it. Okay, things that we need to talk about. Lucy Dacus last week. Saw Lucy Dacus when she was at Radio City Music Hall. I don't think I have been there since seeing Glee live on tour when all of the characters were alive. So I will say, as good as I remember it, that was an amazing experience seeing Glee live, but it was just as good to see Lucy Dacus there. Had really great seats and also got those tickets thanks to Ravers Becca and Summer, who listened to this podcast about how much I love Lucy and therefore texted me like, hey, my friend's selling tickets, do you want it? I said absolutely yes, and I transcended. It was wonderful. But you know what, she was there multiple nights in a row. She was there like a Wednesday and a Thursday. I had tickets for the Thursday show. And at the Wednesday show, fucking Hosier came out to sing Bullseye, my cry song, I'll have you know. And so when I went there on Thursday, I was like, oh, perfect. Hosier's going to come out again. It's going to be amazing. Or there's going to be another celebrity guest because, it's New York City. All of her friends are there, right? The Muna folks are there because Kate Gavin of Muna is opening for Lucy. So I thought maybe Julian's there. Maybe she's got another famous friend. Maybe Phoebe's there. They can come, even if they don't sing a song together, maybe they'll just come say hey, or they'll deliver a guitar, or they'll give a wave or go hug her at the end of the set. I was hanging on until the very last moment. I am not going to lie to you. Knowing that Hosier was there the night before, that night, she even addressed it. She was like, Hosier's not there. here today. It was a real surprise yesterday. Even I didn't know that he was going to be coming out. My show had started and he had just landed, so we didn't think he would make it. So, she did address it during, but I didn't believe her. I was like, this is a gag. Like, I know she's going to gag us and I know that she's going to come out and we're all going to have a laugh about it. I just knew that, but it didn't happen. And I went with Raver, Grace's wife, Raver Kate, and Kate was fantastic. She brought tissues and found $100 bill in her purse, by the way. But she brought tissues and she gave me the tissues when I was crying. I warned her that I would be crying, and she did come prepared. So thank you to Raver Kate, much appreciated. And I will say we were both on the same page, which means that we were all of one collective mind that we were sure there was going to be a guest. Like, we were absolutely sure. Even at the very end, we were like, eh, still could happen. Still could happen. And then it didn't. And that was also fine. So it was beautiful. It was spiritual. It was gorgeous. It was great to be around so many gay people. And there were so many sexy little, cute little gay people, but surprisingly a young audience. And this even happened. Kate said this happened at Boy Genius also. Like, when she had gone to see Boy Genius, it was a young audience. And I was like, wow, who knew that the young, queer people were really into Phoebe and Lucy and Boy Genius? I mean, I'm happy for them and I'm happy for everyone involved, but I really thought it was for the 30 plus people who were just sad and wanted somebody to relate to. But here nor there, everyone's welcome to the sad party. Everyone's welcome. So, other things that happened. Went to a drag brunch on Saturday at Rise Bar, just a gay bar in Midtown, obviously. But it was Eurovision themed, and I know almost zero Eurovision lore. There's a whole movie about it. It happens every year, I think, God knows, and apparently it's happening next month. Should I get into it? Because the songs were kind of bangers. They were all like semi Rita Ora coded, which made me feel a little bit tense. Because if you know one thing about me, what do you know? I don't like Rita Ora. Say it with me, no Rita Ora, okay? And this has nothing to do with her being talented. She is talented, but there's just something about her. There's just something about her, okay? So, should I get into it? There was a song that they played that it just it was capturing. It was captivating. It was called Euphoria. It was amazing. I will link it in the show notes. You should listen to it. Very, all of the songs I heard were very like 2016 EDM coded. Some of them even like, Adele level vocals, but still bangers. I mean, these drag queens were going into splits and then just like inchworming themselves in a split around the floor. Like, it was incredible. Okay. So shout out to them. It was Sky Walker and Izzy Uncut. Amazing brunch. Got drunk on mimosas. Went to get press on nails. Did them by the river. Had a great time. Something else I do want to share, we did lose someone in our drag community. We lost Jiggly Caliente, who is a drag race, not even a winner, was on like season 4 of original Drag Race. And she's now 44 years old. I realize she's a trans woman. She ended up being a judge on Drag Race Philippines. She was back on All Stars 6 in like 2021. I remember because I was watching that season, which is crazy. So unfortunately, Jiggly had some health challenges. She had an infection in her leg. She ended up they put a statement on her Instagram that she had lost most of one of her legs, and then days later she had passed away. So R.I.P. to Jiggly Caliente, truly an icon, and also really put like Drag Race Philippines on the map. And I really need to start watching those other drag races from other places, but mostly rip to Jiggly. We miss you and your amazing spirit, and also pave the way for trans women on Drag Race and in general the representation of other cultures and trans women. So rip to Jiggly. And I that honor, I want to share a story about a time when I felt jiggly personally in my life. So one time I was in college at the University of Connecticut and didn't do many things there, but I did do two things which are going to come up in this podcast. So I'm just warning you now. One was I got on Groupon, which was very much a thing at the time. It was a whole bit in Tiffany Haddish's comedy that she was like the Groupon queen. Do you remember this? Back when Tiffany Haddish wasn't like a Zionist who's being canceled for going to Israel. But is she still with Common? No. Jennifer Hudson's with Common now. I just had that moment. You don't remember that episode of Parks and Rec when they were doing the telethon and that weird hours of the night, and then there was one moment when Leslie was describing every episode of Friends from memory, and she's just like, "Was Phoebe there? No." So what happened was, I was at UConn and I got on Groupon, and there was a pole dancing class in Hartford, Connecticut. How far is UConn from Hartford, Connecticut? Pretty far, at least 45 minutes driving. But it was senior year, and I was committed to doing things that I had not done before. So I took my friend Deanna, who I met through my business fraternity. Deanna comes up again in the story. And so she was like, yeah, I'm down to do it. So Deanna and I were different body shapes. Deanna was very traditionally attractive, very cool, very funny, very popular. And I was just kind of vibing. So I drove us into Hartford, and it was the morning time, I think on a Saturday or a Sunday. It was in someone's home, and they had an entire like waiting area. It was us and like these friends who I think it was like the first day of like their bachelorette experience weekend. So it's the two of us, probably 20 years old, 21 years old, and then these people who are preparing to wed one of their friends. And what happens is the instructor, like, they tell you should wear like short pants so that way your skin can touch the pole. I didn't do that. I felt weird about my legs. So I was wearing long pants. And so therefore, like, I couldn't stick to the pole. They bring us into the room and she gives us each a name, like a dancer name. So she goes around the room and she's always like, Diamond, right? She's going around and she's like, Glitter, she's giving everyone the cutest little names. She gets to Deanna and I. She goes to Deanna and she's like, Champagne. I was like, oh my God, what is mine about to be? So she goes to me and she's like, I don't know yet. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. I was like, okay, sure. She's like, I'm thinking about Venus, but we'll see. I'm like, all right, I guess we'll go with the planet. That's fine. That doesn't make me feel anything about my size. And then we go and we start the lesson, and she instantly, it like dawns on her. It was almost as if a light bulb had physically lit up above her head. She's like, I know, I know. Yes, finally. Like, I had to see you move to know your true alter ego. And I was like, okay, lay it on me. Let me guess, fucking Jupiter, a bigger planet? She goes, Jello. And there was something so deep inside of me just crumbled. I was like, great, great, awesome. She waited to see me move to know that my name had to be Jello. And that is something that just stuck with me for so long. And was I good at it? No. Was I wearing long pants and sliding down the pole in a non-sexual way, in like a you are not doing it correctly way? Absolutely yes. And so therefore, you can call me Jello in the streets and the sheets. No, no, just in the streets. Okay. So that is my story, and it is inspired, and Jiggly inspires me with that name. And therefore, I am Jello today in honor of Jiggly. Okay. Let's get into rave reviews. Since we went to the drag brunch, that was not the only time that we experienced drag this weekend, because we went to Balcone to see Nick Gaga, who is like the premier Lady Gaga impersonator and drag queen in New York, and probably of all places, because I have not seen a Gaga impersonator do this good of a job ever. And Nick Gaga's been doing this for years. And a New York Times article was actually written about Nick Gaga in February, which I'll link in the show notes. And this performance was amazing. Like, full on, actually like trying to replicate Gaga's Coachella performance with like the outfits and the dances and the entire structure. It was incredible. So much effort and energy went into this. There were like 3 different acts within Nick Gaga's performance. It was incredible. Deep cuts, the entire new album, multiple different looks. All of the looks were like completely ornate. The dancers had full on choreography the entire time. It was amazing. And they had like media. There was like a countdown clock every time that she was about to come on. They had clearly done like a photo shoot. They had these like little like moving photos of her the entire time. It was high production value. Something like I have never seen before. So it was incredible. But I just am thinking like that they do this every single month, and every single month the show changes, and I was just like, I need to know more about this person. So I read the New York Times article after seeing this, and then I'm like kind of feeling bad now. Because now, Nick Gaga was saying how a lot of their time and energy is just spent like watching what Gaga's up to and then finding ways to replicate it with like choreography and looks and wigs. They do everything by hand essentially. So, like, they cut and color their wigs, they stone their own things. They were like, I bought a 3D printer and learned to code so I could 3D print parts of these outfits, like full on project runwaying their own outfits. They have dancers and choreography and a stage, and they practice for like 2 or 3 hours, at least once a week. And then when it gets closer to the show, it's like 4 to 5 hours. So they're saying essentially their entire life is dedicated to keeping up with the Gaga lore and having to replicate everything that Gaga does, which they do very well. And thank God Gaga isn't canceled, because imagine framing your whole life around somebody who was canceled. That would be terrible. But thank God they haven't. Nick Gaga deserves all the time, attention, all the love, all the money. But damn, it actually seemed kind of sad after reading the New York Times article. Like, I wish that they felt the creative freedom to do things that they think are cool, but I get the gag and I get the desire and the market for it. So keep going, Nick Gaga. Love it. Respect it so much. You should absolutely go to a Nick Gaga show and one of the Gaga balls that she throws at Balcone. And it's free. It's a free show minus the tips. And you just have to DM Nick Gaga and be like, hey, I want a table. And that's it. It's fantastic. So that is a rave review. The Nick Gaga performance at Balcone, absolutely incredible. And we're about to jump into grave reviews because I need to talk about this JoJo Siwa Big Brother UK situation. Okay. If you don't know, JoJo Siwa is a former child dancer from what the show was Dance Moms with Abby Lee Miller. So, like, was in professional dancing since she was a kid, has been on TV since she was a kid as a subject of this show, was one of Abby Lee Miller's like favorites, just like that other one who's in all the Sia music videos. So JoJo Siwa then took that platform to be like a child star. She had music. She had these like big rainbow bows. She would always have her hair up in this side ponytail. And she did like kids music, and she had this really high energy, and she had a YouTube channel. She was like a full on child celebrity. And now she's getting older. She like came out as queer. She sort of like cut her hair and she came out, and then she's sort of been a part of like the queer community. And then, rebranded using the song Karma and wants to make like gay pop music, and actually has had some bangers. I'm not going to say that too loud. Has actually had some bangers. So that's a little bit of history about JoJo. JoJo is just now 21 years old, right? So still quite young. JoJo went on Big Brother, the show, which is just essentially like you put in a house with a bunch of other people, and then there are challenges and you vote people out. It's essentially like a social game. Okay. So it's like Survivor without the threat of death. Like, you get food and water and a bed. Okay. So consider that Big Brother. And it's almost like Love Island in that, like, it's streamed constantly. The UK fucking loves to do this. Like, it's constantly streamed and people are watching and people are engaging in like real time in like over multiple days. So that's what Big Brother's all about. And JoJo goes on to Big Brother UK, and there's a couple of celebrities there. And on the first day, she experiences like a gay hate crime by actor Mickey Rourke. Why he's there, God knows. I left him back at Iron Man 2, had no idea he was still around. So Mickey Rourke says a bunch of like actually fucked up stuff about her being a lesbian. He was like, what do you like, boys or girls? She's like, girls, but my partner's non-binary. He's like, I knew that. Give me a couple days, you're not going to be a lesbian anymore. I'll tie you up. Fucking creepy. Perv, creepy, weird shit. And then he's like, oh, you guys, I need a fag, talking about a cigarette. But still, he's like, oh, I'm not talking about you. Haha. That's not fucking funny. Okay. So this guy in the house, a guy called Chris Hughes, he is a former Love Island UK contestant who was in his own drama, 35-year-old man, 35-year-old grown man. Okay, by the way. He jumps in, he's like, Mickey, you can't say that. Oh my God, wow, the bravery, the bravery. Whoa, whoa, my God, everybody ring the alarm. Fucking Medal of Honor here. Chris Hughes jumping in and be like, hey man, that's not cool. Bro, Hillary Duff was doing this shit on commercial television 20 years ago. Where have you been, Chris Hughes? Mickey Rourke, go back to the hole you crawled in on. He was like their big money celebrity. Like they paid a lot of money for him to be on the show. And he was like, in 4 days, I'll be out of here. He was like ready to be out. He was kind of over it. You can tell. Okay. So JoJo's like not down with the hate crime, obviously, and she's like obviously hurt by it. And then she starts to create this bond with Chris Hughes because he defended her. So I feel for JoJo in a lot of ways, right? JoJo has this sort of tendency to do things that go viral and do things that are very memeable to stay in the public eye. And I think that is a result of just growing up and having a parent who is willing to do anything to be in the public eye, to make money, and to willing to profit off their child. And now JoJo has this incentive system, right, inside of her mind. She's like, I need to stay in the public. I need to do something that makes me relevant. I need to do whatever it takes. Okay. So I feel for JoJo in that some of this was created by her parents, and I deeply think she needs therapy. But now, right, she goes on to Big Brother as a lesbian with a non-binary partner named Kath Ebbs from Australia. JoJo's been living in Australia with Kath for apparently months. Did not know this. Okay. So as Big Brother goes on and her and Chris start to get to know each other, JoJo is publicly on Big Brother as we're all watching, sort of learning about herself and her relationship and things like that. So she comes out and says, I don't know if I'm a lesbian. I actually think I might identify better with queer. I think that's great, right? JoJo said, maybe, I always thought I had to say lesbian. I never really liked the word, but I felt like I needed to do that to justify. And so that was that, right? And then she's like, maybe I'm queer instead. I think that's beautiful, right? You're 21. You should not, it's not like you have to pick one and you just are that forever, doll. All right. It is not like we're all tracking changes here. You get to be able to change as you grow and learn about yourself, right? But the relationship with Chris is starting to become very intimate, and not like sexually, and not like they're like kissing, but like they're kissing foreheads. They're like holding hands. They're holding each other in the hot tub. They're having deep forehead touching, connecting moments. They're like cuddling and snuggling and things like that. And so people are starting to being like, question mark, this is odd. So in the episode of Big Brother where they send letters home, both the mother and Kath both say like, I can't wait to hear about this experience and learn about how you're feeling, right? Like this seems pretty big. And JoJo felt like kind of hurt by that. It's kind of like, whoa, I don't know. So at the finale, Kath comes from Australia on what they call a 24-hour flight from Australia to the UK to see JoJo and still support their partner at the finale of the show. JoJo gets kicked out of the house at the finale of the show and then apparently breaks up with Kath at the finale with the whole cast like in the other room, right? So Kath had traveled to see JoJo after these, 11 or 12 days in this Big Brother house and gets dumped and then proceeds to just like go home essentially. So that's what's happened. And in a lot of ways, I want to criticize JoJo and be like, JoJo, that's fucked up. Like, I know that you learning these things about yourself, but have been living with this partner and have been planning a life together and then to, meet this person for 11 days. It's just very odd. It's an odd situation. No one has all the information, so I want to reserve judgment in that way. But I just mostly feel bad for JoJo. I mostly feel bad for JoJo because she had such a fucked up like childhood. I think a lot of this is just a result of being in the public eye 24/7 and having to report about everything you do and everything you learn about yourself, every relationship that you're in, the status of that thing. It just seems so intense. So in a lot of ways, I want to say Grave Review is JoJo once again in the public eye, just absolutely being raked over the coals. But in another way, it's like we all can feel for JoJo in a way. Okay. And by the way, Chris Hughes, you're 35 years old. Stop being a fucking weirdo to a 21-year-old queer person. All right. Okay. Moving on. Can I say something? Yesterday, a Sunday. As you know, Sunday scaries take place. Okay. And that happened to me because I know it doesn't seem like it. Say it with me. A human woman. All right. So I decided, okay, what am I going to do? Let me catch up on Girls. Let me get to season 2 because I know I was talking all this shit like, oh, I'm watching Girls. I'm watching Girls. I've only just made it to season 2, episode 1. All right, people. I'm not a quick television watcher. But watching Girls on Sunday was like actually traumatizing. It was literally traumatizing. It was like if you decided to run a half marathon the day before your first day of a new job, right? Like it is as if you decided to do something really hard right before you were going to do something really hard. it was not instilling confidence. It was actually harming your mental health. It was actually bad for you, made you question everything, and did not give you any sense of peace or preparation for the next day. Okay. While it may seem good for you and beneficial for you, it is actually not. So watching girls actually was making me sadder on a Sunday and gave me more Sunday scaries. So I would not recommend it. I would say only watch girls on days in which you've already been fulfilled and you're feeling good about yourself and your life, and you don't want to watch 24-year-olds go through the motions of their life in New York. Okay. Okay. And the dynamics of friendship. So that is what I'm going to say about that. I am sorry. Oh, my I'm sorry for this week is actually, have I talked about this before? I don't know, but I'm going to talk about it again. Why do all young people want to skydive? All young people want to skydive. I was having this conversation with these like young people at work through this program, and they were all like, what's one thing that you've always wanted to do? And like 90% of them said they want to skydive. And I get it's one of those once in a lifetime things. I get that, but dream bigger, doll. Skydiving is not that bitch. And not to bring up Deanna again, but my senior year of college, I did join the skydiving club. $250 for skydiving, but you have to do it in the middle of the state of Connecticut, and you got to do it at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So Deanna and I, we get back in my car, we whip it over to some field in Connecticut multiple times, right? First of all, you go through this training, you put on the little suit, and we got up in that plane 3 times before we could jump because the weather was really cloudy. We couldn't get to the altitude we needed to jump. Okay, so we go up one time. They were like, no, we can't get high enough. So they bring us down. And then we get like our little sandwiches for lunch. Like the whole day, you're fucking there in that suit, just like unzipping it to pee, rezipping it, unzipping it to poop, rezipping it. Okay, we go up again the second time. Once again, they're like, I feel like we should wait just a little bit longer, see if it can clear out a little more, then we'll be fine. And on the way down, they're like, we'll give you a little treat. We'll like give you a couple like spins in the plane on the way down. And I was like, nope, you don't have to do that. You're actually good. You don't have to do that. But of course, like these men flying these planes completely legitimately, I'm sure, but I didn't check anyone's license. They were like doing tricks on the way down. I was like, this is actually worse. This is horrible. I've already been in this plane once before. I'm going to have to go again. This is not good. I've already peed the suit multiple times. Okay. Finally, we get to go up a third time and we're getting high enough. And they're like, we're not as high as we want to be, but you've already been up twice. So go ahead and jump. I was like, no, 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 no. We don't have to jump. We can actually wait until it's the right altitude. And they're like, no, you will be able to deploy the chute in time. It's enough clearance. You can go. And that is not what you want to hear before you fall out of a plane into the air with nothing but a bag with a shoe in it and a man on your back. Okay. So that is exactly what happened. We go up and you're not skydiving. You're not diving at all. In fact, you are essentially rolling. You are falling out of the plane. And I did pee the suit again on the way down. And I was being cheap and I didn't get the photos. So all I have is this photo that someone took of me, like about to land on the ground. And it's not like the view was good. If you're going to skydive, if you are a young person who wants to skydive, pick somewhere nice. Pick the Caribbean, pick Mexico, pick some ruins or something, pick Turkey. I don't care. But it was truly, I think, a February day in the middle of Connecticut. There was nothing to see there. There was absolutely nothing to see. And you're in the air for like 20 minutes. He's like, do you want to hold the reins and guide the chute? I said, absolutely not. You better keep your hands on there, man. Are you kidding me? This is not the time for small talk. This is not the time for trying new things. All right. So if you're going to do it somewhere cool. And if you're going to do it, don't be cheap and get the photo package to commemorate it, because you're always going to say, I went skydiving. And then people are going to ask you questions and you're going to have nothing to prove it really happened. Okay. Okay. Song of the week. Casey Musgraves for Earth Day put out a 20-minute, essentially Earth sounds sound bath. And that's my song of the week. I have been listening to that like a motherfucker. 20 minutes of just like sounds of a babbling brook. There's some frogs croaking. There's some little crickets or some shit. I don't know, but I'm playing that on loop. I can't even tell when it starts and it begins. There are literally no words, but I would recommend it. I think it's great. I love to work to it. It makes me feel nice when I haven't made it outside until 5 p.m. It makes me feel like I've touched grass. Okay, so that is my song of the week. You should listen to it. And that's all for today's episode. Extra long today, a lot of stories today, but thank you for listening. This has been Gay Rave, and I am the Gabby L, and the L is for, say it with me, love you. Bye.
That's what she said. And you know what? What was that? Okay, James.